This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, and I have my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter, which, by the way, there's a lot of that happens in this newsletter that I don't report on because, quite frankly, I just don't find it interesting. So you can get it yourself if you want to know everything. And there's a lot in here I don't report on, but there's a lot I do report on. So here we go. We'll start with AEW news this week since it's their 5th-year anniversary. So as far as AEW, they still haven't made a new deal. Their new deal ends, or their current deal ends at the end of 2024 with Warner Brothers Discovery. They had their 5-year anniversary television show this past Wednesday, the Dynamite in Bakersfield, California, which was also a Rampage taping. They only had 2,292 fans in a building that holds over 10,000, and the rating was only a 0.24. Keep in mind, their first rating 5 years ago was over a 0.6 something. I think it was 0.62 or something, somewhere in there. So they didn't advertise much that it was their 5-year anniversary as far as to get more ticket sales or to get a better rating. They did say it was their 5-year, but they didn't really make a big deal about it. So that's got to be disappointing, like barely over 2,000 people, including comps, and a 0.24 rating. Meltzer mentions that a lot of money has been spent on talent in AEW that has contributed very little, and that's an understatement. As far as behind the scenes, according to Meltzer, went from a fun place to work with a great backstage environment to a place where people are still making an amazing living, but there's a lot of frustration for people that aren't being used, for instance, or people that have switched from WWE and actually have gotten less popular. AEW lost approximately $34 million last year, according to reports. Nobody has put more money into a startup company against WWE pretty much since WCW, or had a roster like this, but the roster is very frustrated. AEW let Cody Rhodes and Jade Cargill leave, and they became much bigger stars in WWE. On the flip side, Monet had way more exposure, like Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Monet. According to Meltzer, uh, she was far more popular than Cargill, and her popularity has actually gone down since entering AEW. She's been a flop in AEW. Osprey and Okada have also signed for big money, like Mercedes Monet, but have made zero difference in the ratings. Actually, ratings have gone down, and attendance has gone down since they signed all these people. Apparently, according to Meltzer, a big factor in their continued success, or continue either their success or whether they're in the middle or go down, is going to be what kind of media rights deal they get when it's re-signed. Is it going to be basically for the same amount, more or less? Right now, their big double or nothing weekend is this weekend. They only have 6,441 tickets out, including comps, for their show that had over 11,000 sold out in record time 5 years ago for the same show at the same arena. So that goes to show you, as far as interest, there's not much interest in it. They got a champion that's not over, with a belt that's not over. I mean, I'm not saying he's not over. Their champion is over, but the title is not over. And the champion isn't over to like the level of what a champion should be. Like, for instance, Edge has a secondary title, but he's one of the most known wrestlers in the company. Christian, who's wrestling the champion at this Double or Nothing pay-per-view, they wonder why there's hardly any tickets sold, because what has Christian done to become number one contender? He lost his TNT title, a secondary title to Edge. Then he had like no contest with Brian Cage, or nobody won in Christian's last match with Brian Cage, who's not considered even on the same level as a main event guy, although he probably should be, but he hasn't been used much. Um, there's a lot of people in AEW making a lot of money that aren't being used. John Moxley, who no-showed all of the Canadian events, appeared on the May 17th Pro Wrestling Revolver show in Dayton, Ohio. That's another thing that boggles my mind with AEW. They let their wrestlers like wrestle for indie companies and like New Japan shows, and don't even use like the top guys on all of their shows where it would actually makes if I had Moxley and I was running AEW, I would be using Moxley would be a featured guy on all the shows, and he would be a better AEW champion. Why? Like, wouldn't you rather have him as AEW champion than their current guy, a guy that's known? It would help attract eyeballs when you have a guy that's not known to the general public as your main champion, and I can't even remember his name right now. Like, him as champion is just get him over more before he gets the title. Kenny Omega, who's more known to the general public than their current champion, had surgery last week for diverticulitis with one of the top specialists in the field. Good luck to him. Angelo Parker and Ruby Soho were married last weekend. Mark Henry's contract is about to expire. Tony Khan was asked about this on the Double or Nothing press conference, and he said that he likes Henry and thinks he's a great guy. Of course, Henry's a great guy to you. He's getting paid for doing nothing for years. One of the luckiest guys. I mean, he's right up there with Big Show. Big Show has been hired for years, and he's like, how many friggin' appearances has he made? Tony Khan is such a nice guy to like pay these people for doing practically nothing. As far as All In, they had a great. That's the Wembley Stadium show. They had a great initial buy. There's about 39,000 tickets out, but they haven't moved at all in recent months. And I think they had over 80,000 total last year. On to WWE news. SummerSlam at Cleveland Browns Stadium has 45,835 tickets out. The building holds 67,431. So they can sell about 20,000 more. Logan Paul has filed a lawsuit against boxer Ryan Garcia for insulting his energy drink that has apparently passed 1.3 billion in sales, beating Gatorade as the most sold hydration drink at Walmart. Brandy Rhodes, the wife of Cody Rhodes, has endometriosis. I'm not going to pretend I know what that is. WWE is expected to lay more people off this week as they have merged their live events department with UFC. They want to start charging site fees for all of their TV tapings and pay-per-views, not just the big ones. Whether that will happen or not, time will tell. As far as NXT Battleground at the Apex in Las Vegas, they're setting it up for 300 people, which apparently is usually only set up for 100 to 200 for UFC. Eric Rowan, who has done practically nothing since being released from AEW, but has a great look from being released from WWE rather. He did appear in AEW when Brody Lee died for one show. He's expected to be brought back for the Wyatt family group led by Bo Dallas. Eric has been training at NXT's Performance Center. John Cena had signed a deal with Metrex, the meal replacement supplement, which I used to have from time to time. Money in the Bank in Toronto has 16,616 tickets out. Raw the next night in Ottawa only has 6,307 tickets out. So again, like the last Raw that came to Ottawa over a year ago had over 10,000 fans. Are they gonna sell an extra 4,000 in the next few months? I don't know. I honestly don't think Cody Rhodes is as over as Roman Reigns. I honestly don't think he is. Roman Reigns was here for a house show in 2022 and they had 10,000 fans. And this is a Raw, they're only at 6,000 tickets out. I mean, maybe Cody Rhodes isn't even on Raw, so I might be speaking of I really don't know. All I'm saying is this Raw is not selling as well as the past few events that have been in Ottawa. Mind you, the Collision only had 3,000 total that was taped here recently, which was AEW's debut in the market. Take into account when Great North Wrestling did our first show at the Ottawa Civic Center here back in 2007, we had 4,000. So we actually had a better debut in this market than AEW did. In other attendance, WWE in Jacksonville, this is a slap in the face to AEW. 10,197 in AEW's headquarters, Jacksonville, Florida. Keep in mind the last AEW show there, with free tickets to the members of the military, did just over 2,000. You got to protect your home area. You got to at least draw well in your home area. On the flip side, Raw in Greensboro, North Carolina, did 9,898, which was less than the Sting retirement show had. In other wrestling news, the Von Erichs are expected to sign with WWE or AEW soon. I did get confirmation from someone from the Von Erichs that as of a couple of days ago, when I talked to this person that knows the Von Erichs very well, they actually had not signed. So there were some false reports out there that I guess I had read that said that they had signed, but I have confirmation from someone very, very close to the Von Erichs. They have not signed as of earlier this week. Could they be signed as of today somewhere? Yes. I would expect if I was WWE, they're very smart. I would not let AEW sign them, particularly since they're going to be at that 2,000 seat arena in the Dallas area for a 6-week run because the Von Erichs could make a big difference there. At the same time, AEW can make them a ridiculous offer. But if I was WWE, I would not let the I mean, AEW's already put the Von Erichs on their TV somewhat. Not as much as they should have, but if I was WWE, I would make a definite play to sign the Von Erichs, not let AEW get them. And on the Von Erich side, I like Ross and Marshall a lot. I've had an interview with them on this channel. I personally think while their schedule would be easier in AEW, I think they should go to WWE. They will become bigger stars in WWE. And if they watch this, honestly, sign with WWE. Look at the amount of stars AEW has made from scratch. I mean, MJF, you could say, but he's nowhere near the level of a star that's been made in WWE. MJF's probably the biggest star they made. Whatever happened to Wardlow? Is he even under? I mean, I'm sure he's under contract, but like Wardlow at one point, they had something going with him, and what the hell's happened to him? I haven't heard anything about him in months. But like, if I were the Von Erichs, I would definitely sign with WWE unless AEW just offers a ridiculous amount of money. Tony Jones from Beyond the Mats, his funeral took place on May the 11th. He died at 52 to a heart attack. Cause is still unknown, no autopsy results yet. Mike Modest, who wrestled him on Beyond the Mat, was at the funeral. Rosie Ogawa's Marigold promotion had a show May 20th at Karuken Hall in Japan before 1,539 fans. That one is big in the news because he left Stardom, I guess, or was fired from Stardom. I really don't know. I don't follow Japanese wrestling. But he has this Julia under contract until she debuts with WWE later this year, and she's like the most over Japanese woman wrestler right now. In MMA news, Conor McGregor says he wants to fight 3 fights this year. Be very shocked if that happens. He's targeting June 20 or June 29th is his first fight, and we've heard I don't know if this was just a fake challenge or what, but Austin Theory challenged McGregor to a match recently, a handicap match with Grayson Waller or Walker, whatever his name is. It doesn't matter what his name is. I don't give a damn about him or Austin Theory for that matter, unless Conor McGregor comes in and beats them up. Because I think Austin Theory is one of the most overrated wrestlers. He did nothing with that Cena win at the other WrestleMania. It'll be interesting to see if McGregor appears in WWE to help publicize this fight. Will he be healthy enough to fight 3 times this year? I doubt it. By the way, we did talk about that earlier this week, and I did get a message from Simon Rochford from Ireland related to, and I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna put it up. This is related to Conor McGregor's barroom antics in Ireland that's pretty funny. Let me see if I can find it. We're live, so we're doing this live. Oh, here we go. Conor McGregor info. Put it up on I'll put it up on the screen. Hold on. This is some inside info. It's worth waiting to see. It's kind of funny. This is inside info from Ireland, a guy that helped jumpstart the careers of Sheamus and Drew McIntyre and other wrestlers. Okay, I'm copying it right now. Hold on. Here's some funny info about Conor McGregor. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now as we speak. By the way, Anderson Silva is boxing Chael Sonnen in Brazil in June as well. Let's read this. All right, here we go. Just saw your video on McGregor. The pub where he punched the man was called the Marble Arch. Connor offered him and others a few free shots of whiskey. The man refused Connor and said his whiskey was shit. Hence, Connor lost his temper. Got a lot of negative backlash on the locals. That's where Connor reportedly punched the old man. So Connor got barred from the pub and paid a court fine. Then he bought the pub, barred the man from the pub, and closed down the pub completely in spite. Says if you Google it, you can see it's permanently closed. Then there's the Black Forge pub. It's a famous pub that McGregor owns. He was barred out of it for fighting. He then bought the pub after he was barred, turned it into a gastro pub. Connor is not liked by the Irish media. The Irish people are 50-50 on him. There you go. The fancy cars he drives are leased. Okay, so here's some inside information. Most people don't know that. I'm sure he is very wealthy, though. By the way, I don't even know what a gastropub is. There is a gastropub in Las Salinas, Texas, when I lived there that I went to all the time. It was right beside my hotel. Um, what the difference between a gastropub and a regular pub, I really don't know. Paul Roma, yes, he's going to be appearing June the 29th in Napanee, Ontario. Little over a month away. I'm training really, really hard for this, and I'm really looking forward to stepping back in the ring. Mario Mancini is also going to be there. Angel Medina, Rene Dupree, and the Blood Hunter. Or I actually don't know what gimmick I'm doing on that show, honestly. The Blood Hunter movie is still going to happen, probably to be recorded at the following show, August 31st. Well, the wrestling scene for the movie is probably going to be filmed August 31st when I team with the Warlord. Oops. Yeah, you can follow Rick Bassman, but that's not the one I wanted to put up. By the way, Rick Bassman is cured of brain cancer, or his brain cancer is in remission. I'm doing an interview with Katie Lee Burchill in a couple weeks, by the way. June 29th, Napanee tickets at ticketweb.ca. Rowan is making money. Yeah, I guess Rowan. I guess Rowan. I'm not making. I'm not laughing at their deaths, but he did get booked after Brody Lee died, and probably if Wyatt hadn't died, he might not be getting this job. Fulton says guys like Logan Paul are the reason he doesn't watch WWE. Well, Logan Paul has helped, whether you like him or not. He has a deal with them where he gets wrestlers on his podcast, which Logan Paul didn't even watch wrestling before WWE started paying him. So he's bringing wrestling to a newer audience, and a lot are just watching it for him. So he gets more fans than he turns off. I think McGregor wrestling for them would bring him a lot more fans, though. I mean, I don't know who the top merchandise seller is. I'm not doubting that Cody Rhodes sells a lot of merchandise. It's just as far as oh, he's in town. I gotta buy a ticket to see Cody Rhodes. It's not like if The Rock was in town, we'd all be going. Roman Reigns to a much lesser extent than The Rock. I mean, The Rock would sell out. Honestly, Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin on the card would still come close to a sellout here. Someone says so many talented wrestlers out there in W. Yeah, well, I understand why they signed Logan Paul. He brings eyes to the product that wouldn't watch otherwise. Dominic Mysterio is a nepotism sign. The people that have zero experience, they pay to train when there is so many talented people that actually deserve contracts. That's sad. Conor McGregor, honestly, I know he talks down about wrestling, but I think he would enjoy wrestling. And I think we're going to see Conor do it. I don't think Dominic are in the level of popularity as McGregor. Honestly, Dominic is a W outside of WWE fans. Dominic doesn't appeal to. I'm sorry, that gimmick doesn't appeal to people that aren't wrestling fans because I'm like not a fan of. Actually, I was talking to somebody today. This morning, I was talking to somebody that had watched my channel and they actually said they watched WrestleMania because The Rock was in WrestleMania, but other than that, they can't sit through the product. But they were a fan in the Attitude Era, and that's a fan like me. I would have if I had had the network or if it was on Netflix, I would have watched WrestleMania. And I can say, as a regular guy, Dominic's a talented heel. He should be a manager though, or something. I don't want to see him wrestle. He's too small. Celebrities in wrestling is a turn off to Ace Hunter. Well, the thing is, they got to do it because they don't have that many new stars that are over. NXT has produced zero new top stars. Zero, zero, one, only one of these. Roman Reigns was from Florida Championship Wrestling. That was their last major star created from scratch. Cody Rhodes was from FCW, and he also did the independents. Kevin Owens, I wouldn't put him on the level of those, but he was doing the independents for years in Ring of Honor before NXT. Same with Sami Zayn, and he's not on their level. There's been nobody trained from NXT that has become a top star. Nobody. That's just a fact. Zero. So they need to bring in old guys like The Rock, who looks great. He still has the best body in wrestling. But other people to draw interest in wrestling. Paul Heyman wants old ECW on Netflix. Anything's possible. Anything is possible. So I wish everyone a great weekend. I'm actually going to bike to the gym, biking everywhere now as part of my training for my matches coming up. They can't make stars. It's just the whole reason why guys like Ric Flair would not last in today's wrestling just from cancel culture. He's been under contract to AEW for how long and how many times have they used him? Roddy Piper would not have lasted because these personalities are just too crazy. Andre the Giant with his continuous drinking. I mean, maybe they would have found a way for him, but like these wrestlers that have you get the personality from being on the road, making no money, paying your dues, and actually going have crazy. You develop that specialness about your character that you're just not gonna get from college graduates or ex-football players that may not have even liked wrestling that are just doing it for a payoff. But WWE is doing it. They're keeping interest by cycling through these big stars for brief period of time, but as time goes on, I don't know how many new stars that NXT is gonna create from scratch. Cody is going Hollywood. Uh, I don't think he's going anytime soon because he just signed another full-time wrestler deal. Somebody wears an earring. Jesse the Body Ventura. I mean, he was one of the greats. I think they're signing him back to a Legends deal soon. Have a great afternoon. By the way, Kevin Sullivan podcast with Ole Anderson on here was pretty good. I don't know if Kevin is still in the hospital or not, but there was reports last week from numerous people he was in the hospital for some reason, and it's not life or death. Someone half Indian, a bit like Tatanka, with an earring. I have no idea who that is. Half native, I'll say, to be politically correct. Have a great night.